this is very exciting. Jim Cullum is a local, and not just a local legend. He is a musical legend, and I'm glad we're all here to hear him talk. I'm sorry I have to read this. He's been performing for 50 years. He's recorded 50 albums and LPs. He's shown all over the world. He's performed all over the world. He's a San Antonio-based jazz cornetist and band leader who has been active for over 50 years and 50 years. Beginning in a partnership with his late father, a clarinetist, Jim has specialized in developing an individual sound from the pre-World War I traditional jazz stylings. Oh, pre-World War II. Pre-Civil War jazz stylings. I tell you, he's been around. Jim's career highlights include his development and performance in Riverwalk Jazz, a highly successful weekly nationwide public radio program. The Jim Cullum Jazz Band has performed in a variety of venues, from the most obscure to, get this, Carnegie Hall, the Kennedy Center, the Confluence Park. Aside from music, and he continues to perform nightly, and I hope we all get a chance to see him really soon. Aside from music, he wants to be known that in his early bohemian years, his main driving interest was perfecting recipes for concocting his favorite delight, the Ramos Gin Fizz. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce Jim Cullum.
All right.
Wait, I want to add that aside from Mike Casey, he's the snappiest dancer I know. Snappiest dresser that I know.
Yeah, man. Okay, yeah, I'm the bow tie guy, you know. Okay, now I don't know how to start the slides, but maybe you'll help me with that too. Not ready here. Okay, you want to hear a couple of notes on the cornet? Okay. Well, I'll tell you before I start this. I have this cornet, which I bought in a hock shop here in San Antonio in 1955 when I was 14 years old. My first instrument. I had been memorizing Bix Beiderbecke solos. I was absolutely fascinated, and I'd sing them and whistle them all the time. And my father kept saying, "You should get a trombone or something like that." And I went downtown and on Houston Street at the Capital Loan and Jewelry Company, which was right across the street from where the Frost Bank is now. There was this cornet, this very one, which I bought for $8 after a lot of haggling. And then I went to Alamo Music Center and bought this is not good. Well, that's okay. I can kind of wing it. I only need one piece of paper there. Just one. Yeah, it's just one piece of paper that I need. There's one. Yeah, that's the only one. Okay, I'll do better. Anyway, so I bought a book for $1 from Alamo Music Center, and so I had a $9 investment in all this. Now, okay, so hold on for a second. So after one day, I was able to do this. I figured that out in one day from the book, you know. Okay, the next day, I got this, a song. Jada, that's called Jada. But then the next day, I got this. And that's the blues, you know. And once I did that, it was all over. I had to be a cornet player for the rest of my life. Okay, I think, give me that piece of paper there. Okay, just that. Here, I just need. Okay, I think we're about ready. But, you know, I just want to say one quick thing about jazz before I saw all these pictures, which is, you know, that about jazz. I hope this thing doesn't turn over here on us. But that, you know, jazz displays, I wrote this out one time, this is kind of a theme, that it displays more than any other art the speed of creative ideas brevity of time, the striving for greatness, and the intensity of longing. You know, those few phrases. And that's the kind of thing that has chased me around all my life. I don't really need that anymore. Okay, so having said all that, we start with the, oh yeah, I was going to say one more thing about this cornet, which is that at one point, this was in the New Orleans Jazz Museum, along with some other instruments. And they had, then that was taken over by the state of Louisiana. And then the state of Louisiana put all these horns. After a while, they didn't have a display anymore. They just put them in crates, and they sent them off to Baton Rouge. And so this fella I knew down there, I said, these things aren't, they're just stuck in a warehouse. And I'd really love to get my old cornet back. And so this guy, he snuck around and he got the cornet and he gave it back to me. So not only is it old and interesting, it is also hot, Okay, belongs to the state of Louisiana. Okay, that's that. Now let's get on with it. Now you can start you know how to start this? There you go. Good job. Now that's Bix Beiderbecke. That guy, and you talk about this passion. You look at that's Bix Beiderbecke, and that's kind of what got me going in all this. You can see in that guy. Look at the look in his eyes, and he was a young guy in the 20s, and he had this beautiful cornet sound. He died in 1931 at age 28. Okay, look at these old broken down guys. I'm going to go backwards. I'm going backwards in time now I just played with these guys tonight at the Gunner Hotel Bar, and that's the Gunner Hotel Bar, and there's those four guys I play with them. They are fantastic musicians, and you can't find greater jazz musicians than that in the whole world. Here's the stage at the last landing that was at the Hyatt, and that was really about the best band we ever had, really. We've had various versions of the band. That was a 7-piece band. And it was a really kick-ass band, that particular group, and it was one of the best ones. Okay, and that ought to change in a second. And there's another one of the same group, with Flowers. We've had such great times with these. The band a few members have changed over time. As he mentioned, I started doing this with my father way back there. My father, who died in 1971, 73. But in the very early first 10 years or so of the band. Okay, where are we? This is Carnegie Hall. This is the band on stage at Carnegie Hall, and this Carnegie Hall was really something. They seated people on the stage. It was sold out, completely sold out. They seated people on the stage behind the band. You can see a few people back there, and this was a 4-hour concert, and from 8 to midnight. And then we went and jammed all night at the Hyatt Hotel lobby where they had a grand piano, and then the sun was coming up in the morning. Okay, now here is the thing that came from the Pope. That's because we've done 306 jazz masses, and I would never have dreamed that the Pope was paying attention, and I got the thing in the mail from the Pope. Okay, here's Jim Cullum drunk here, and they said that's what my mother said it looked like. But this guy that's playing the drums here is one of my all-time favorites. Some of these guys so obscure you never heard of him. His name is Bob McClendon, and he would just thrill me so much that I would fly to Dallas at my own expense to go and sit in and play with him. Okay, here's the band playing in Guadalajara, the main plaza in Guadalajara, and the crowd got so big that the police had to come and stop the band because it had blocked all the traffic for about 3 or 4 blocks, So, it's been some pretty good times. Now, the next one I'm going to show you is the governor came from Jalisco and said, "What can I do for you while you're here?" And I said, "We want to play at Mariachi Plaza." So here we are playing at Mariachi Plaza, and we snuck up on this Mariachi Plaza, which is the seat of all mariachi music for the world, and the mariachi has 10 groups playing at once. And the only way you can hear them is to get close to one of them. And these guys, so here we start, Royal Garden Blues. Bop, 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 as loud as we could, 8-piece band. And so, and they stopped the show there, Now we used to have these World Series of Jazz. This is myself, Yank Lawson, my father, Bob Wilbur, Billy Butterfield, Bobby Hackett. These are all famous musicians. We're getting ready to have a battle of the bands. We used to have these all the time here in San Antonio. We had a lot of them. Here's Pete Fountain and my father and myself, because we used to bring these guys here to have battles of the bands called the World Series of Jazz. So, we did a lot of that. Benny Goodman came to play in them. We did almost all of them at the Lila Cockrell Theater. San Antonio has been a great place for us to do our thing. Now here's all the great cornet players: Bobby Hackett, Yank Lawson, myself, and Billy Butterfield. These guys are all considered like geniuses, except for me. I'm just standing there, kind of trying to hold the horn. And let's see, wait for the next one there. All I can tell you about that one. Now this is a great jam session at the old original landing stage. Emilio Caceres, a San Antonio legend, Curly Williams, Bobby Hackett, and Billy Butterfield. And I'm telling you, the roof was coming off. This is the most fantastic thing to have a place like this and to have this kind of music going on. And you don't have this any place in the world. There's the way the club looked from the stage looking out into the place. This was the greatest little club. I've been to clubs all over the world. This is like one of the little caves in Paris. Nothing like it in the world. That club was there from 63 to 72. And there here's the crowd giving the band a standing ovation in that club at about that same time. This was in the 60s. Fantastic. We're going backwards in time now. I hope you're keeping up with that. Yeah, and let's see. Yeah, that club was just the most fantastic times for me and for all the guys. There it is from across the river. That's opening night, April 11th, 1963. There was just nothing like that little place. It was just magical. And it kind of kick-started the river. That was a kind of that was a project for the Riverwalk. The landing was, and the city just supported it. People were down there standing in line to go on the landing. A jazz place. Never happened in history. Nobody goes to hear jazz, come on. Now here I am with Louis Armstrong. Besides Beiderbecke, Louis Armstrong was my other idol. And and I could spend one of these whole evenings like this telling you stories about Armstrong and times that I had with Armstrong. Now here's the Getson ad, and I'll show you that I became an artist for Getson. So the Getson came up with a cornet, and you see how the Getson cornet looks like the old original cornet. I'm still an artist for Getson, and I'm still playing their horns. This one is also from 1963, and I worked a little bit on the design. Okay, that's that. And there I am with hair, and there's a different hairdo in those days. And nowadays I have what we call a reverse mohawk. It's a different haircut, Okay. Let's see where we're going next. Oh, now look, this is at the Dairy Queen. This is the last picture. This is the Dairy Queen in Alamo Heights. That's where I played my first job for money. And I'm a teenager there. You see the cornet. I played, that's this cornet, and I played, got a line of credit there for milkshakes and malts and stuff. That's where I started my career. So we've gone all the way back. And before that, when I first came to San Antonio, the first month I was here, I set the Alamo Heights Junior High School record for the 75-yard dash, which still stands because they're never going to they don't run the 75-yard dash anymore. And before that, I was in Venezuela, and before that, I was in Dallas, where the house was flooded with music with my father. And before that, it's 1941, and I wasn't around. So you're all the way back. Thank you.
I did not want that. I did not want that to end. Yes. I have a feeling he could probably go on for about 3 more weeks right about now. But please do us all a favor and write a book about your life, because I think we just barely scratched the surface. But I'll make this really quick. Out of all the places and all the world travels, why did you decide to honor us by living in San Antonio your entire life?
Well, I came here in '53 because my family moved here, and it was the greatest thing that could have ever happened. I love San Antonio. You guys know what it's like to live in San Antonio. You can't beat that, When I came here, I had some relatives that lived over in Monte Vista, which they didn't even call Monte Vista then. They called it Laurel Heights. It was so far back that it was in 1950, and we came there, and they'd sit around out in the yard and wait for the Gulf breeze to come up, and tell stories and things, and have wonderful food, drink wine. It was fantastic times, wonderful. I was a little kid. I said, this is the place, So when I came here, everything was always on go from then on.
Oh, that's great. Well, we are so fortunate. We are so fortunate. Go see him. Go see him right now. Thank you. Jim Cullum, everybody. Oh, you want me to play? Yeah, play something. Oh, you want me to play something? Okay, I'll play something. Oh, we'll do a duet.
You think it sounds pretty good in this place?
Yeah.
Test the acoustics, right? Is that enough?
Yeah.
How about? I'm trying to play San Antonio Road, but I don't really know it. That's all right. That's enough. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.